Kuypers, how are you? How are you? You don't want to know? Sorry. Thank you. Hi there. I'm looking through this book and I thought I would share 3 different pieces from 3 different shows from the book, Chapter 38, Volume 2. And I'm excited because by September 1 I'm going to be visiting Chicago for watching the Laver Cup for tennis. We're going to a tennis league.
Yay, Laver Cup.
And I'm designing a shirt. And I'm designing a shirt with the Laver Cup logo and a Chicago skyline and Nadal and Federer on one side and Sock and Isner on the other side, because it's Europe versus the world is the competition. And I'm like, and I've taken photos of these guys, so why don't I? Anywho, but I'm going to be there, and in time for that, I was going to be releasing more collection book releases of things from Chicago shows, Chapter 48, Volumes 1 and 2, and that'll be out. So I don't know if we'll be reading from this next year, but I thought I'd share this one first with you. It's called Clay. So I was at this bar on the coast of Florida, the west coast, the Gulf Coast, you know, not the other side. It was a place called Lana Kai, and my friend gave me a ride all the way from Naples, which is a good 45-minute drive south of the place, north of the place. So I was there, sitting there at this bar, which was half indoors and half out on the beach, and there was this old man. He kept staring at my friend's chest. A couple of guys bought us a beer, and then one guy asked me to dance. I was surprised he asked me to dance and not my friend. Men were usually more attracted to her. But the guys were jerks anyway. One looked like a Marine with a haircut that looked like he just got out of high school or something. And the other one looked like he decided to forego hygiene. Another was twice my age. It's not as if I'm trying to pick up men in bars anyway. So after a while, I couldn't stand being at the bar next to the reggae band that was playing. I never really liked reggae music anyway. I mean, it's too slow to dance to, and so I begged my friend to come walk with me out on the beach. Oh man, it felt like a 10-year-old with a bucket and shovel when I kicked off my black suede shoes and I ran out toward the water. It almost looked like, I always love that feel of the sand when it's drenched in water, and it feels like clay as it seeps around my toes, pulling me into the ground. So there I was, splashing in the water, wearing a black sequin dress, throwing my purse at the shore, taking a swig from a can of Miller Lite. This was life, I thought, pure and simple. An army couldn't drag me out of the water. So my friend found some guy to hit on, as she usually does, and she wanted me to hit on his friend. I found him ugly as all sin and impossible to talk to. I told him that one of the rafts at the shore was mine, and instead of driving to the bar, we sailed by, and he believed me. I told my friend flat out that I wouldn't go out with him. She was pissed that I didn't find him good looking. But then he strolled up, and he strolled up from the bar to the beach, an interesting stranger, and he walked right next to me in the water, still wearing his shoes, seeming to know that I needed to be saved, as most knights in shining armor would. And he said hello to me, and he started talking to me, and he cracked a few jokes, and he made me laugh. And okay, I'll admit it, he was good looking, really good looking. I remember at one point looking at him and it made me think of those Greek statues. He had this curly hair, the sharp chin, the strong cheekbones. Those Greek statues could never actually meet up and stack up to this guy. They have no color and they don't come alive. They're made of stone. His name was Clay. And when he talked, he crept into my pores, the way the sand made its way between my toes. His voice tunneled into me, boring me hollow, making me anxiously wait to be filled with more and more of his words. My friend disappeared with newfound monosyllabic lovers for hours, until long after the bar had actually closed, leaving me stranded there. there I was, 45 miles north of my home, well, and it was 2:30 in the morning with no means of transportation. It could have been worse. I could have been somewhere other than on the beach. I could have been sober, and I might have had a knight in shining armor named Clay to help save me. And as he drove me home an hour and a half out of his way, I couldn't help but run my fingers through his hair, as it was an uncontrollable impulse, like the urge to drag your fingers deep into the wet sand. I told him that I was just trying to keep him awake for the drive. It's almost better if I never see him again, and then I can always think of him this way. One of the news features, this one is called, brace yourselves, The Good Doctor, the good, quote-unquote, doctor. California's Dr. John Ronald Brown had his medical license revoked in 1977 and was then in jail for 3 years. Brown later led potential patients to believe that he was a licensed doctor, and people allowed his transgendering surgeries because of his low prices. But John Ronald Brown was not only a doctor for the transsexuals, but also for those who got sexual gratification from having an arm or a leg amputated. In one case, a 79-year-old Philip Bondi paid $10,000 to have his leg amputated in Brown's Tijuana clinic. After the surgery, Bondi was taken to a San Diego Holiday Inn for his recovery, but he died in the hotel in less than a day. So, John Ronald Brown, 75, was charged with murder and practicing medicine without a license. After his arrest, homicide detective Gary Stovall found in Brown's San Isidro apartment a blood-stained couch and bloody towels soaking in his bathtub, as well as blood trails, medical supplies, and his surgeries on videotapes scattered about the floor. Inside Edition even videotaped him performing a surgery, though you could still hear the patient during the surgery moaning and howling in pain. A Northern California businesswoman witnessed Brown operate on an HIV-positive patient once, and in another case, Brown used too much erectile tissue to construct genital outer lips for a transgender patient, and as a result, whenever the girl got excited, her labia got hard. People went to Brown because he was cheap. Cheap enough to plug silicone injection holes with crazy glue. And because he technically wasn't a doctor, he never asked questions, and you could have the operation you always wanted actually done. Atlanta-based transgender author Dallas Denny said that transsexuals knew him as Tabletop Brown because he operated anywhere from kitchens to garages to motel rooms, and even some patients woke up in parked cars, and everyone knew that there was no screening and no aftercare with Brown, which may explain why no one watched over the ailing Philip Bondi. After his Saturday morning operation, Bondi was happy at first, though he later said he felt Brown sawing, literally sawing, on his leg. Brown's office was in Mexico to avoid American law, but right after the operation on Bondi, to hide the evidence, Brown drove 15 miles out into the desert toward Ensenada, throwing his leg out the window for the coyotes to eat. Bondi was left to the Holiday Inn in San Diego Saturday evening and was found Saturday morning lying half on the bed and half off. The wheelchair was turned upside down, the phone was tipped over, the sheets were pulled out, and blood was oozing from the blackened and gangrenous remnants of his leg. For, you see, he was infected with gaseous gangrene, a fast-moving flesh-eating bacteria which eventually stopped the heart. So, in October, a San Diego jury found Brown guilty of second-degree murder. But people still have their fetishes, and someone will always be there to take advantage of them. This is a death sentence. This is called 710, 720. Received a phone call today. This is Hazel in Naples. Your dad can't talk right now. It was probably around 7:20 Central Standard Time. And she told me my mother died about 10 minutes ago. Dad got on the phone, said I'm the only child he called. My husband watches me as I listen to the news. My mother has died and my father is falling apart 1,000 miles away. I tell him I'm sorry. I don't know what else to say. I rested my hands on the armrests of my desk chair. Everything suddenly felt very heavy. I didn't want to lift my hands, my fingers. It's almost as if after hearing, I was too numb to cry. I've been crying enough before she left. And the tears will come later. Trust me.